Okay, next on my agenda is I want to take the main content that's right here in this area right here, and I want to go in and format the text and do a variety of other styles to help utilize the space more effectively. As you can see down here, I have all this white space down here below, so I'm not utilizing the space correctly. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go in and experiment. I'm going to go in and change some of the colors to match my color scheme. I'm going to go in and adjust the font styles and the font sizes and go in to try to utilize that space more effectively in that regards. Now this also, I went in and I've already formatted some things, like I went in and applied the style to the strong tag and made it orange, as you can see here. Um, did that back in one of my earlier versions of HTML. I believe it was part 3 on that part. So if you want to take a look at that, please do on that. So we're going to just go in and kind of concentrate on this to kind of utilize the space more effectively. And again, with this, it's just making sure you have enough content and you're fitting in the area that you need to. Okay, so here what I have is I have in column 2 I have a heading 2 added. I have a couple paragraph tags, so let's apply some styles to that and to get a little better control over that. So let me move this over here to another view so I can have my style sheet side by side. And with this, what I want to do here is I want to affect the heading 2 that is in my column 2 section. Now if you have anywhere else there's a heading 2, and if you only want, in this case I only think I have one, yes. So if you have heading 2 somewhere else on your page, you only want to apply it to that section, we have to go in and I'll come down here at the very bottom, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in hashtag COL2 space H2. This specifically is going to identify just the H2 tags within this div section. Let me zoom in on this area right over here on the left. Okay, then we can concentrate on adding the styles that we want here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to go and change the color. And I'm going to use the color I have in my color scheme here. And what I'm doing here is I'm simply just going in and using the hexadecimal, and it should be more of a green color, and I believe I utilize it up in the header H1 tag. So I'm matching, what I'm doing is I'm taking the heading 1 tags and I'm definitely matching the color, so that way you can keep it consistent. Right now it's black, so what we're going to do here, let me go ahead and save this, and as always I like to look at it when I make a change so you can see the difference. In that regards, oops, wrong page. Let me just go ahead and reload this way. It's very hard to see, but it is a darker green. It matches this green that you find up here in hole 1. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tie this color throughout my document. Now, you can go in, and if you want to make it a little bit larger, we can go in and use the font size attribute. So we can type in font size : now this is where you have to experiment in that regards. A good heading 2 size is between 35 and 45 pixels. Heading 1's around 42 on up. So I'll just say 35 pixels here. And in this regards, what I want to do is refresh the page, and again you can see that the text gets a little bit larger. Might be a little bit too large for what we're trying to do here, so that's up to you on that aspect, but again it's just to show you that you can manipulate this. Now what I want to do also, as I'm looking at the green and that, I think what we're going to do is we're going to change this white background for this column to have a light gray color, so it's kind of matches with the green and the grays that we have going on. So what I'm going to try to do is match that up before I move on. And so I'm going to manipulate that column 2 section, which is hashtag column 2. So we have to go up here to the top Here it is here. Right now the background color is set to white. As you can see here, it says FFF. So what we want to do is let's use a more of a lighter gray color on this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this to hashtag 999. Let's save it. There we go. It's a nice little light gray area here in the background and really helps with the color that we're working with. Okay, so now let's focus in on the paragraph tags that we have here. So let me go down here at the bottom. I'm going to go in and just affect the column 2 section and its P tags. I'm going to put hashtag COL2 space P. And this is where sometimes you have to experiment, because sometimes, you know, when you're stuck with a certain width or a certain height, a lot of times, you know, basically you kind of have to choose a certain size. Maybe it's the font size, maybe it's something else, to have it fit correctly. So one thing I like to do is to help us increase the reading when you have larger paragraphs. I like to add the line spacing. We do that with line height. So I'm going to say line hyphen height, and I'm going to do basically 1.5 times. And what we do with that, we just type in 150% semicolon. Okay, so in this case, if I save this and I reload here, you can see I'm increasing the line height just a little bit, just to help it with our reading and so forth. Adding a little extra line height does definitely help on that part. Now what I'm going to do, this is where you can experiment with this. Maybe increase the font size a little bit. So let's try this. Let's go in to my code. Let's try font size. Now you want to watch out here. You want to watch out. When you're working with font sizes, the one thing you want to watch out for is making it too small. And typically for paragraphs of text, we don't want it less than around 14 pixels. Okay, depending on the font you chose, it might be just a little bit harder to read on that part. So you really have to watch out for that. And if you make it too small, you don't want people to squint on that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and change the font size for the paragraph to be 20 pixels. Now when I save this, again, it's always fun to see the changes as I'm working on this. So I'm going to reload. And now it's, when I did this 20 pixels, you can see that the line spacing, and now it's fitting exactly in that area. And plus the text that we've already applied, like italics and bold, is really coming out on that part. So that's really helping to fill up that area that we're working with. Now, what are some other styles that you could utilize working with, just adjusting styles? Well, you could go in and change, for example, the space in between the characters of the words. And one way we do that, we use letter spacing. And sometimes that'll be great. I like to use it for headings. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you this aspect to the heading too. So I'm just going to say letter spacing 5px, 5 pixels. Again, if you're in graphic design, you understand that aspect. It's pretty much is what we call kerning or tracking aspect. We're putting spacing between our characters. So when I save this, what I want to take a look at here now is I want to watch the character spacing in between these characters in the heading when I click on reload. Notice how to add the extra space, and now it cannot fit within that line. So it's pushing your layout down. So in this case, what we'll probably want to do is just do 2 pixels. So that's why I like to go in and I like to test it out, because if I don't, sometimes it will cause an issue and I won't see it till after the fact. And so here I just did a little 2 pixels. Now everything's still fixed into that area. Another style that you can actually add to your heading as well is that you can align it to the center. So we can use text hyphen align. And I like to do that for headings. Do not apply text align center to paragraphs. it really makes it harder to read the paragraph itself when you center a paragraph. Only center headings. In design, we find that it's been actually a study that's been out there, and it just makes it harder to the person to read a paragraph of text if it's been centered. So in this case, I do center align. Do a little refresh, it'll center the heading right up there in that section. There's so many different styles that you can apply with your document, and the key is to take a look and see what else you can actually utilize that might affect the font itself. So we could change the color, we can change the font size, we can increase spacing, we can increase line spacing. These are all things to look at because it helps you to utilize the space more effectively on your page itself. So that's the key as you're working with that. So here all we did was we went in and we've added some additional styles. Now pay close attention to what we did here with hashtag column 2. Now if we didn't include this hashtag COL2 and left it just H2, then it's going to apply this style to all the H2s on your pages. Here when we say hashtag COL2, we're specifying a section first, and in that section look for H2s and only apply the styles to that H2 in that section. So that allows us to get more specific with the styling that we're doing on that aspect. So the key is go out, look for other styles, have fun with it, because that's the key. You can learn some creative ways to work with and to make your text a little bit easier to read and etc. Now, one place to check out is w3schools.com/CSS. They have a variety of different CSS tutorials that you can take a look at, and they give you examples of what they do for that, and you can actually try it out. And what I love about this W3 Schools, you can actually modify the information over here on the left hand side, and you click on see result to see the changes. So that's a great aspect of that. So if you haven't looked at w3schools.com yet, check it out. It does have some great tutorials here. There's some things that you can make things 3D transforms. You can go in and add gradients. You can go in and change your alignments, change your image opacity. Some fun stuff that's in here. So definitely take a look at it when you get a chance.